Hey, everybody. Uh, I want to tell you a little bit about what the lab is going to look like this semester. It's going to be different, obviously, because of the procedures. And in the orientation video, I told you a little bit about that in terms of like the alternating schedule and all that. So I want to talk more about what you need to do before you come to lab and how you're going to be graded in the lab and what happens when you don't have a lab in a particular week. So let's take a look at Blackboard here. Now, there's nothing really about labs in the course orientation. That really starts in week one. So we'll start there. And you can see here that one of the key things highlighted is if you were in section BO3, which is the section that starts lab right away this week on Wednesday, make sure you get to those laboratory activities and assignments first. If you can't find them on Blackboard, chances are you have not submitted your statement of understanding yet. If you don't submit that, the other stuff, I'm not sure if it comes up or not, but it may not. So let's go into the lab folder. So every week, as we said on the in the previous video, has a lab folder under the assignments and activities. And so for this week, we're dealing with safety training as well as the observations lab. So safety training is going to again look a little bit different this semester because we really can't be doing much in the lab. We're not going to use the classroom at all. We're not going to be watching videos. We're not going to be working on data together. We're supposed to be on campus to do the labs for the smallest amount of time possible, just for safety with the virus. So we're gonna. The idea is we're all prepared. We come in, we do our lab, we go home, and that's it. And then we can talk all we want online, and we can work on the data and find time to do all that stuff. But we're not going to be doing that on campus in person this semester. All right. So the lab activities here, you need to know some things about some glassware. So you'll work through this Quizlet. There, perhaps most importantly, is watching this chemistry lab safety video. That is actually filmed at Harper. It shows you all the facilities. You'll get a sense of what everything looks like, where the safety equipment is, where your uh, drawers are, where the eye wash station, safety shower, all that. And I'll point all that out to you on Wednesday as well. But that's also how you're going to complete the quiz. Now, the other thing you need to know is starting this Wednesday, you need to be dressed properly for lab for safety purposes. So that means um, it says no shorts. Actually, the knee is the requirement in at Harper now. So that's changed a little bit. So you can wear shorts as long as they're all the way down to your knee. You can wear skirts as long as they're at least down to your knee. You don't want to have an open or exposed stomach because that's what's leaning up against the bench, and you don't want stuff spilling and then hitting you there. And then tank tops, also not a good idea in the lab because of spills, but that's fairly easy because you can cover it up. You know, just bring a sweatshirt or a shirt or something or a lab coat if you want. And then the big one is no sandals or open-toed shoes of any kind, especially when it's warm out. We often forget and we just, slip on our flip-flops or whatever and come to campus. Don't do that. We don't have shoes. We don't have like extra shoes to give you. And you don't want to have to run home and get your shoes and then come back to lab because even if you don't live that far, that's still going to be a while. So make sure you're wearing closed-toed shoes when you come into the lab. All right. Now, in terms of the new stuff with screening for COVID, I'll put a link somewhere. It's in the announcement on Blackboard, in the announcements on Blackboard, but I'll put it in with this video too. Harper has new screening procedures. You've probably gotten an email about it. When you come to the building, there's only a couple entrances that you can use. And when you go there, there will be health screeners who will take your temperature, have you sanitize your hands, and ask you some questions about health. And then you'll put on a mask and walk to lab. Anytime you're inside the building, you need to have a mask on. So that's new. If you have health problems where where you need an accommodation, you can't wear a mask, please contact ADS, Access and Disability Services, so that they can get you registered. You have to disclose your medical condition and have a doctor's diagnosis and that kind of stuff so that they can give you the appropriate um, accommodations so that you don't have to wear a mask. You can't just come in and say, "Oh yeah, I have a thing. I can't wear a mask." It has to be documented and registered. I'm just gonna tell you now, it's gonna be really annoying. I don't know if you've ever done it, but if you wear a mask, probably if you have glasses, you've experienced this. When you have your mask on, you have your glasses on, the glasses get constantly heated up and fogged up. And in lab, that's going to be the same thing with goggles. We're going to have these big goggles on and masks. The goggles are going to get fogged up. Everything's just going to be uncomfortable and annoying for the whole time. So I I'm sorry. There's nothing we can do about that. That is what it is. But it's also one of the reasons why we're trying to just spend as little time as possible there, and why we want to get everything done before and after we're actually on campus, so that we minimize the time we actually have to be there in person. The other thing you may want to do, just for personal preferences, Harper provides goggles. We have a case of goggles in the room that is UV sanitized before each lab. However, that UV sanitation isn't 100% perfect. If a goggle is covered up or something like that, there's a chance that a spot may not be sanitized properly. We're also going to wipe the goggles down this semester. But if you still don't feel comfortable about that, you're welcome to get your own goggles and bring them in, as long as they are chemical splash goggles, not safety glasses, but chemical splash goggles. You can usually tell chemical splash goggles because they actually make a seal around the face, and they don't have any direct holes that allow liquid to come in and hit your eyes. They have indirect vents, little like kind of covered up, almost like holes that are wearing umbrellas to stop the direct splashes. So they're still vented, but they're not. They don't have that direct path for the liquid. There may be, I don't know, my goggles are terrible with masks, but there may be some nice goggles out there that actually do kind of fit your eyes underneath the mask, and then you would not have to worry about getting it fogged up. If you can find something like that, great. If not, we'll just have to deal with it. But we will be wearing those. You don't have to bring your own goggles, but if you want to, you can, as long as they're chemical splash goggles. And I'd be happy to um, inspect them and check them out. Or if you want to send me a picture on Discord or something and say, hey, do these work? That's fine. All right. So that's the basics of that. So then what you're going to do in the lab, we're going to complete a pre-lab activity. So you'll see that here. It's actually set up as a quiz in Blackboard. So it says test. It's just a pre-lab quiz, a pre-lab activity. So it's just asking you, okay, do you have the data table? Did you do all this stuff? Yes or no? What are some things about safety that, whatever, and some of the other things that you'll see in the instructions. So the answers to all of these things, yes, I want to leave this. I'm just going to close it out. So the answers to all this are either in the safety video or in the actual observations experiment, which that is not it. This is the post lab. I don't see the observations here, so I am going to have to put that in. I didn't realize that isn't there. So sorry about that. Did I put it in here? It's somewhere. But I will get that to you, and you'll use those instructions to complete the pre-lab activities. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll have to find that. You know what? I might have it here. Hold on. I have to figure out how to get it to come up on screen here. Okay. So I will post this on Blackboard. so that you can go through it also as soon as I'm done with this stream. Um, Let me add this to the stream here. Okay, there it is. All right, see it there? Whoop, blocking me. That's okay, you don't need to see me. There I am. Okay, so let's quickly take a look at this one, and then we'll look at the other one as well. Each lab will kind of look like this. You'll have a bunch of stuff to read and to some instructions on what you're going to be doing. You have here a procedure for the actual experiment itself, so you can go through that and get a sense of what you're going to be doing. Some of the pre-lab activities are, or the pre-lab quiz as it is really not meant to like test your knowledge. It's meant to just check that you actually read through this thing. So most of the questions in there are just very, very direct, straight from the instructions. So if you read the instructions, it should be super straightforward and simple to answer those questions. Um, so one thing that you want to make sure to do then is to take observations carefully. So, all right, I have to switch this somehow. So the other thing that you'll see posted on Blackboard, let me see if I can get this switched okay. Yeah, there it is. Okay. You see that? All right. So this is what the lab kind of report sheet looks like. So this is where you'll be writing this stuff down. Now, I believe it says in somewhere in the in Blackboard and in the pre-lab that you need to have this printed out. And that definitely is the best way to do it. If you have access to a printer and you can print this out and just bring it into lab, that's great. If you don't have access to a printer at home, Harper is trying to figure out a way that you can print and just like pick up the papers as you get there, because you can't go sit in the computer lab and print there like you used to be able to. So until that gets worked out, if you don't have a printer at home and you can't get it from Harper, then it's not going to happen. So the best thing to do then is just bring in some paper, and hopefully somebody in lab will have this. The other thing you can do is you can email me and say, I don't have access to a printer. Can you print this out for me? And I will, assuming that my printer at work at Harper also works, because that was an issue for a while, that I will bring you a copy. But you can just write all this stuff on paper. You're going to be submitting it electronically anyway, so there's no need to specifically fill out this exact document. It is kind of nice because there's a table and stuff. But if you just bring some paper and you write on paper, that's fine. The instructions, if you can't print them out, you can use your phone or something. The only issue with that is it's kind of a risk because stuff spills and you can end up spilling on your phone or your tablet or whatever you bring into lab. So printing is still best, even though, yeah, we all want to save paper, but we also don't want to damage our electronic devices in the lab. So if you can print it, bring it in, then you take the data as it happens in lab. You write the stuff down. You don't need a separate lab notebook or anything. You just need to record this stuff. Then you're going to make some changes, write some other stuff, and that's going to conclude and complete the lab. So then when you get home and you're doing the lab report, instead of just turning this in as you normally would, you will you'll do a little bit of a discussion here, which I think we're actually going to move to Discord once we do it, just because it's going to be easier. But there's actually like a test. It says test. It's not a test, but that's what Blackboard calls anything where there's questions that you have to answer. So you're going to answer these questions as your lab report, and a lot of it is just like this one. Take a picture of your data table and submit it. Then it's going to ask you a couple questions about the lab, some multiple choice questions, and some writing questions. and that's what I'm going to grade from your lab. So that's how you will get your lab points is by completing it this way, and this will be the same pretty much every week. All right. So now, if you don't have lab in a particular week, if you don't have in-person lab in a particular week, you often have some sort of a virtual lab to work on. So you actually can't see this in my stream, but it is. Can you see that? No, it won't come low enough. But it's just below the laboratory folder. There's a folder that says virtual lab right here. So some of the labs will actually use this virtual lab setup. It's a little bit old looking, but it's highly accessible and compatible. So you should be able to access this on pretty much any device with screen readers or whatever else you need to do. And you'll be completing some labs in this way, where you just kind of click through and get the data and get some information, and you're going to do some stuff here. So it's not ideal. I would love to be doing all this stuff in lab with you, and I'm sure you would love to be doing it instead of just reading it off a website, but it is what it is for right now. So the second half of your lab is going to be online. For this first 2 weeks, there's really not much to do except for this little flashcards about lab equipment. So that's going to be the virtual lab part of your lab for this first unit. And if you look at the schedule on in the syllabus, you'll see that some of the virtual lab weeks have specific experiments that you're going to be doing, and others don't. So there will just be other virtual stuff activities to be done at that time instead. As usual, let me know if you have any questions, and I will add to this as I can. I'll make sure to get those observations instructions and data tables up there for you. And I'll see half of you on Wednesday, and then I'll see the other half of you the next week. So, again, that's the lab expectations. And please let me know if you have any questions.